EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 as we get ready for preseason game number 3 tonight. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. We'll be with you live for the next 2 hours here on Birds 365. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother?
Football Friday, I guess, in name only. I don't think it'll be as quite. It's not
a real Football Friday.
It's not going to be a Football Friday on Wednesday before the Dallas Cowboys come to town, but I think there's going to be a little bit more juice for that one than watching the New York Football Jets. Yeah, and preseason game 3, necessary evil. Don't want to downplay it for the guys you got to play because it's important for them, no doubt about it. They're trying to, convince Howie Roseman. One thing I've learned about Howie Roseman, it's not necessarily about who outplayed who. It's who he thinks he's going to lose on waivers. That's bit me on the ass before. It's one thing I've learned about him over the years. So, nobody has a better feel, and the easiest way to get claimed on waivers is to show up in these preseason games. Because again, other than the Cleveland Browns, unless somebody's pulling off some Patriots subterfuge, nobody's seen the Eagles practices. So, if you blast in front of them, other teams, you're more likely to get pilfered off waivers, and that is what generally Howie leans on. And then part of it, as I've said, is the new rules, not this year, but just in haven't been around very long. You can use 2 spots, put guys on injured reserve, short-term designated for return. Like Johnny Wilson's going on season-ending injured reserve, but you can put guys who are going to be back or guys who magically come up with a sprained ankle tonight, a younger player on injured reserve designated for return, and they're not out for the season. So a lot of ways you can manipulate that. Look at some of the veteran players. Like, I've said, I think it's possible that Brett Toth could be cut on Tuesday and be starting the next Thursday. Not the September 4th against the Dallas Cowboys. That wouldn't surprise me at all. The hope is Landon's back, obviously, but if he's not able to go, it wouldn't be surprising to me at all if he's cut and then he's brought back to the practice squad because he doesn't have to go through waivers and then elevated for the game and start the game. So that kind of manipulation.
John, we'll see what ends up happening. A lot of different ways how he can manipulate. I'm sure he will emphasize and use all of them to his advantage. John, any players tonight that you think really stick out here for the game tonight? I mean, there's a couple I think that come to mind. I'm looking for really players that could contribute or at least make the roster. You look at those receivers, probably look at those cornerbacks, but outside of that, I don't know how many actual good contenders for the team will play tonight. Anybody in your mind, John, that you're watching tonight?
Well, I think, Darius Cooper is probably the most interesting one for fans who seem to latch on to him. So I think that's probably, can he put a final stamp on his run towards, and again, if he plays a good game, that makes Howie think, well, maybe I can't get him through waivers, and I got to keep him. Now, the problem for all these guys is they're going to be out there with third-string guys, and I talk about with the quarterbacks all the time. So, FEMA relief, they're disaster areas, third-team reps in the NFL. So, it'll probably be ugly. Probably a little bit easier, I would say, for defensive players to stand out from that perspective. Patrick Johnson is a guy who is Mr. August, I like to call him now. He's just a great special teams player, and sometimes it works for him, sometimes it doesn't. He generally makes the team. Last year they had to cut him when they got a roster crunch in season, early in the season, and lost him. And he certainly outperformed, Azeez Ojulari, but I can't imagine that they would not keep Ojulari for Patrick Johnson. So the stuff like that is interesting.
I think the interior of that line too, there could be some interesting guys to watch tonight. Like, John, who makes it after Ty Robinson? Is it Gabe Hall? Is it Byron Young? Which one of those guys do you think prevails? And then I would assume both of them will play tonight.
Yeah, I mean, from my end, this is just personal perspective. I don't know how they do it, but I think Byron Young has the biggest upside of the entire group. But he's been hurt a while, hasn't been able, miss some practices. Everybody's talking about Gabe Hall. A lot of Gabe Hall talk, Gabe Hall this, Gabe Hall that. I just think Byron Young's better. But I don't know how you keep him, because you have to keep Ty Robinson. And if you're going to keep Gabe Hall, that's 5. You can't keep 6.
No.
That's a guy I'd like to see them find a way to hold on to. Maybe he just gets through waivers and he's back.
Who would be better positioned to prevail in this defense if one of your top 3 tackles had an injury and missed time during the year? Carter, Ajomo, or Davis? I mean, think about it, John. They rotate more than 3 guys. So last year, I felt like we had good depth. If somebody went down, you at least would feel, okay, Thomas Booker's coming in. He's not as good, but I certainly know he can play. If one of those guys goes down, I don't know who to trust there. I think it's a big drop-off after 3.
Well, it is a big drop-off, but I think Young is, I think he's the best guy. I think people would be surprised if he got thrown into the deep end of the pool. I mean, or maybe not. If they knew he was the 70th pick in the draft. I mean, he's gifted. For whatever reason, I don't know what went on in Las Vegas other than, the little I've talked to him, but that's a bad organization at the time. I mean, I could just chalk it up to that.
Right.
But he did miss some time as well. But I'm like, Ty Robinson's not ready to play, period, end of sentence.
Well, I'm asking about Gabe and Byron,
Yeah, not to say he's not going to be a good player down the road, because sometimes some guys need time to develop, and he's one of those guys. Gabe is, probably more versatile because he's 6'6" and he can kick outside, and the Eagles have done that a little bit with their defensive tackles because the edge rushing situation isn't great on the backups. So he's got more versatility. I think that works in his favor. Young's not going to kick outside. But if I needed a defensive tackle after the first 3, Byron Young's first for me. But that sometimes it's not about that. It's about sometimes it is about versatility. And he's played and he's been healthy and he's gone the whole way. So I would give Gabe Hall the advantage, but for me, I would keep Byron Young around. But that's just my personal.
So is it possible that neither of them make the initial 53? Because they would probably both get through waivers. At least I would think they would both get through waivers. Maybe they wouldn't. But
that's another thing. I think Gabe's more likely to get through waivers than Byron, because Byron was the 70th pick. Similar,
I was just thinking with the injuries with Byron, I didn't know if he would get scooped.
Similar. Yeah, I mean the Eagles claimed off waivers the first time. So I think that's just more about people remembering him from the draft and saying, "Oh, I like that kid," and taking a shot. That's generally what happens. So I think from that standpoint, it's more Hall. But I do think the Eagles like Hall, and I think he's definitely in the lead. But who knows? Maybe Byron Young gets 2 sacks tonight with those shit show reps, and people overstate it because they're shit show reps, and he's back in the mix. Who knows? I mean, you saw last night the games, a lot of hype over Jackson Dart. I'm like, all right, let's settle down. Who's he out there against?
Yeah,
right. But people tend to just say, all right, he played well. So I remember the Tim Tebow game. We're all leaving I think that game was at MetLife. They were playing the Jets, but I think it was a MetLife game. Well, he made the team. Smack them. He made the team. He had a great final preseason game. No, he was terrible the entire camp. So you got to be careful with these evaluations.
Yeah, John, just confirming for everybody listening, I want to thank and welcome everybody for being here on a Football Friday morning preseason game tonight. Final preseason game. I think it kicks off at 7:30, John, if I'm not mistaken.
Can't they give us 6:30? Can't they give us something? 7:30
is 7:30. Yes, and it's on CBS. I don't know what it's on. It says CBS, NBC. So I don't know. Find your local channel. If not, load up the NFL
clock. Running clock.
Yeah, running clock. I don't think that'll happen.
Like a blowout Little League kids game.
John, when is cut down day? Officially is Tuesday, correct?
Tuesday,
next Tuesday. All right, because I've been hearing Saturday. I don't know why. I've heard from two people, hey, it's cut down day Saturday. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Why did you say that to me? And once I get it twice, you start to question what it is. So it is Tuesday next week. We'll have the final preseason game tonight. John, how about cornerbacks tonight? Jacorian Bennett, Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, Mac McWilliams, I think is actually another good name. Who do you think is the most important in tonight's game? And then just kind of your thoughts on where that position is. That thing still feels wide open, John, with training camp at the rearview mirror.
I don't even know if Mac's going to play. I mean, that's this kind of game.
Well, we might actually learn something about that position tonight based on who plays, right?
Well, no, I don't think so because somebody's got to play. So I do expect Mac to play. But, I mean, there's an outside chance that he doesn't. But, and Bennett needs reps. Ringo's hurt, so he's probably not going to play. It's interesting to see Brandon Johnson because he has been hurt but was able to return. So I think he'll play. And then Eli's got to play. AJ Woods has been hurt, but then actually was ill. So he'll probably play. He'll probably be fine. Tariq Castro-Fields was hurt, so he might not play. A lot of issues. Like Adoree might have to play.
I'm gonna have to watch the game with the printed out roster, man.
Yeah.
I don't know these guys. I don't know any. I mean, we know them. We've talked about it, but good Lord, we got some players playing.
Well,
and
the
Jacorian
problem
will play tonight.
Who? Yeah, he'll
Jacorian
play.
Bennett.
Yeah, because he needs reps. Vic's mentality with that. So I can't imagine he wouldn't be playing, especially with Ringo out on top of it. Because I don't think Ringo's going to play.
What's Ringo's injury?
Quad. So Castro-Fields was out. I'm just looking at my practice report. Castro-Fields was out with a hamstring. This is on Wednesday's practice.
Wednesday, right?
Ringo quad, I told you. And everybody else was back. So at least Brandon Johnson was back from his groin injury. And AJ Woods was back from his illness, which he had missed the prior practice, the team drills. So those guys, I guess, since they were back Wednesday, are going to play. Not that you'll all be hyped up by Brandon Johnson, AJ Woods, but in a lot of ways, Brandon Johnson's been their best backup slot corner to Cooper DeJean. So he might be more important than people realize.
He got cooked in preseason game number
2.
Yeah,
he did. He did get cooked, but that tells you.
I remember Pumper sending a super chat about him getting cooked.
Yeah, he didn't play well, and then he got hurt in that game, which is one of the reasons why Vic was so against moving Cooper right now because he doesn't have a slot corner to insert. So those are the guys. Castro-Fields and Ringo to me would be tough to play because they didn't practice on Wednesday. But so that might mean even Adoree might have to get 8 reps or so and then hand it over to everybody else. But that's just a guess. And Perry Nickerson will play, obviously.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see who's out there tonight, John. It is pretty interesting to see how this cut down is going to go. Cornerback is interesting because I don't know who's going to end up playing. The wide receiver spot's pretty interesting. I think it's made easier by the injury to Johnny Wilson, as we reported on yesterday. For those who missed it, Johnny Wilson did undergo season-ending surgery. So Johnny Wilson is officially out, and maybe we'll get some Darius Cooper action tonight. You think Kyle McCord plays the majority of the game tonight, John?
I think they'll split it. You know how they split it, because they did that weird, which I don't like. They did that weird. All right, you take 2 series, you take 2 series against. I didn't, and then rotate. I don't like that rotation.
Yeah, that was odd. That was odd.
I don't. Well, Nick's explanation was they wanted to see both with the second team and the third team, so to make it even. So I get it from that perspective. But with quarterbacks, I think you want to get them into a rhythm. I think it's easier for them to take a half and then take the other half. That's how I would do it. But there's all ways to do things. And they wanted to get both looks with the second and third team to get a better evaluation.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if I'm the Eagles and I'm keeping Kyle McCord, I'm letting that guy play three quarters tonight.
Yeah, well, I think they're keeping him. So I mean,
yeah, that's what I mean. Go and get.
But he needs. It's like I at the same time, I don't think you're worried about injury or anything like that, as you would be with the back, even the back.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, which is why I'd play him extra. I mean, if that's the quarterback I'm keeping, he's my draft pick. I would play him 3 quarters. But hey, what do I know? I don't know what they're going to do. Let's get to a super chat. Then we're going to get to the great, the legend, Rick Saratella, coming up soon here on Birds 365. Zach checks in. John, he says, J-Mac, what happened to Keegan? Ghost.
Trevor Keegan, yeah. I mean, he's been cross-training at center. He's been having a difficult time with
he doesn't seem to be able to do it.
Shotgun snaps, a lot of worm burners back there. Well, it's part of the problem why the third team reps have been a disaster, to be honest, because you're playing shortstop before you're playing quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult for him. I don't know if he has the size that Jeff Stoutland likes inside a guard in the center part, and the Eagles are so deep. I clearly, Darian Kennard's ahead of him. When you talk about those interior backups, clearly Drew Kendall as a rookie is ahead of him. And then you talk about Brett Toth, who is a player that, I don't know, Stout likes. But I think he can manipulate the roster. So tough numbers game because they have so many young offensive linemen. We're going to talk about that with Rick because Rick was down there scouting. They have so many young offensive linemen they want to keep working with. And Keegan's probably in that same category. But you can't keep them all. There's too many, which is a nice problem to have. But, you know, the Keegans of the world, the Holland Pierces of the world, he's undrafted kid from Rutgers. I mean, you'd like to work with him, but if you can't, you can't. You got to move on. Same with Dylan McMahon last year.
We'll see what happens. Keegan's been a little bit of a letdown, Zach, to me. I had a high expectation, not high expectation, but I was excited when they drafted him a year ago. I thought he was a good player at Michigan, captain for multiple years there. I was hoping he kind of developed, but he has been – doesn't seem like he's done that to this point. Let's get on, move on, Johnny Mac. Great opening segment here. Preseason game tonight, everybody, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time at MetLife Stadium. Eagles versus Jets to close out this edition of the preseason and then start preparing for Eagles-Cowboys week 1. Let's go to our main man, Rick Saratella, set to join us right here on Birds 365. He joins us now. Rick, what's going on, man? Good
What's
Friday.
happening, fellas?
Haven't talked to you in a little bit, Rick. How you been, brother?
Yeah, we got a little turnpike football action. Jets.
Yeah, turnpike. Woo! A tradition unlike any other for many years. The last preseason game was Eagles-Jets, and it's like the Masters, I think, that tradition, and then Eagles-Jets preseason football. But good to see you, buddy. Saw you down at the NovaCare complex, but you heard me talking about the offensive line, so I guess we'll start there. They have so many young players they want to keep working with, but